This may not be for everybody, and it may not be for you, but it might be.
Well, as you do your calculations and you think about getting into real estate, and maybe I'd like to buy some rental real estate of my own, consider the additional costs that are going to come up so that that's not a big surprise. Welcome to the kitchen of rental number 2. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath concrete block home in Central Florida. I just had a tenant move out. I've already had a tenant sign a lease. They'll be moving in a few days. But it was worth talking about this, the kitchen. Kitchens are actually a very important part of any rental. People want to have enough space, enough counters, and they want to have the appliances that make their lives easier. In this case, I got a really good deal on this house when I purchased it. I paid $129,000 for it, which was good at that time. Today, it's valued at about $80,000 more than that, just 5-6 years later, and it has been consistently rented for that entire time. But there are additional costs if you want to be competitive, and that's okay. You just have to accept it up front. In this case, there's a gas stove, there's a microwave, and there's a refrigerator. Each of those has been replaced in this house since I bought it several years ago. The previous gas stove was starting to get a little smelly. It really didn't look too terrific. The refrigerator had seen better days, and the microwave was just flat out broken. Now, those were all replaced independently at separate times, but kind of with a theme in mind. And we're not going for absolute top dollar appliances, but we are going for good quality, middle of the road appliances that tenants will be happy with. They actually work, and the tenants feel like they're in a home they want to be in rather than a home they're just willing to be in. The dishwasher in this house didn't work when I bought it. Kind of a surprise because in the agreement it said that it did work, but when I actually got into the house after closing, did the walk around, it was fairly apparent it didn't work. The first tenant was happy to move in without a dishwasher, but we had to replace that pretty quickly. Here's something to think about when you're buying a dishwasher for a rental. This kitchen opens out to the main living space, which is why the sound on this is so ringy. There's no furniture or anything in here to soak up that sound. But if I have a very cheap dishwasher, it'll be a very loud dishwasher, which means when the tenant is trying to watch TV or take a nap on the couch or anything else while the dishwasher is running, it's a problem. It's not that much more expensive to get a good quality dishwasher that's very, very quiet. In this case, this dishwasher, when it's running, you have to be standing right next to it to know. As a matter of fact, there's a light that shines on the floor to let you know it's running. It's that quiet. Little details like that can go a long way to make a tenant feel like they're valued and they're living in a place that has the modern conveniences that they really want. But if they were to buy their own house, they probably can't go out and afford those things right away. This neighborhood is a good mid-range rental neighborhood. About 70% of the homes are owned by the people who live in them. About 30% are rented out. My theory as a landlord is if I can provide a home that is indistinguishable as a rental from a privately owned home where the owner lives there, my tenant feels good. They don't feel like they're at a lower level in society. Maybe they live here because they're just going to be here for a couple of years for a job. Maybe they're here saving up money to be able to buy their own house, and they're waiting for interest rates to come down or insurance rates to come down or whatever the case may be. But they're living in a place they're happy with. It has appliances and conveniences that they're really pleased with, and it's well maintained. If I have a good relationship with that tenant and can convince them to let me know anytime there's a problem, that it's not an inconvenience, just let me know. We'll talk about it and take care of it if it's necessary. If they feel well cared for, they'll stay. And the longer they stay, the better off we are. This tenant, as a matter of fact, signed an 18-month lease, not a 12-month lease. So they'll be here for at least a year and a half. That cuts down on turnover. And cutting down on turnover cuts down on costs because, as we've talked about in previous videos, turnover has cleaning costs, repair costs. I might have to replace appliances that have gone bad in the interim. So keeping a tenant in the dwelling for as long as possible in a mutually beneficial way, that just works out for everybody. And make sure you develop some reserves. When somebody pays their rent and you pay your mortgage and you pay your taxes and you pay your insurance, make sure there's a little bit put aside for repairs and cleaning and the things that are going to come up, like appliance replacement. I'll see you back here next time with a little bit more information about my own journey as a landlord and a real estate investor. And maybe you can find a way to do this too in a way that makes your life better.
So there you have it, real estate investing 101 or something along those lines. Maybe real estate investment is a good deal for you, maybe it's not. As I've told you previously, it took me 25 years to get to my first rental. It took me 2 years to get to my second. Now I've added a number more. It gets easier as you go because you become more knowledgeable and you become more aware of what is it you want to invest in and what level of work do you want to put into that investment. And if you decide to do it, there's plenty of great information out there that'll help you make good decisions and invest in real estate in a way that leads to a profit for you over the long term. I stress over the long term. This is not a get rich quick deal. This is a get rich slow deal, but it can be very satisfying, very gratifying, and you meet some really interesting people who become your tenants.